But first, Australia's largest steelmaker, BlueScope, has backed Peter Dutton's election plan to bring down gas prices. Energy, of course, as you've heard me say, central to this campaign. And it's a big vote decider for households and small business. Joining me now, Director of Energy Research at the Centre for Independent Studies, Aidan Morrison. And thanks for your time. In addition to BlueScope, we've got Manufacturing Australia saying that the coalition's gas market reforms are in the national interest. But interestingly, Squadron Energy, which is owned by Andrew Forrest, well, they say it's a waste of money. I think Twiggy himself has got egg on his face over green hydrogen. What's your thoughts here?
Twiggy certainly would say that it's a waste of money. Unfortunately, it's about to be his money that gets wasted because he's committed to the idea that we need to import gas. He's building a gas import terminal at Port Kembla. And that's the idea behind that is essentially to get Australia committed to buying expensive imported gas, because when gas is high cost, and it has to be when you import it, because you have to liquefy it and then regasify it again. It's never cheap gas when you import gas. So it makes his wind farms look a whole lot better. It also, in all the electricity modelling that supports the investment in transmission lines, it makes them look a lot better too. So it puts a huge amount of wind in the sails of all the investment in wind farms and also the regulatory assets like transmission to support them. So no surprises at all that's what Twiggy thinks, because he's committed to try to get Australia hooked onto imported gas, which will be expensive gas in the long term.
This has always been my problem for about 15 years with policy in this area, Aidan, going all the way back to Rudd's CPRS, the first iteration of the carbon tax way back in 2009, is that there are a whole lot of grifters and rent seekers and those with a first mover advantage who have all backed the renewable energy train of wind and solar in particular, right? So Peter Dutton coming in and upending things with both gas reform, but most particularly at nuclear power, that blows apart their finance model. It blows apart their money-making machine. It's not about what they think is in Australia's best interest. It's about how much they stand to gain from the status quo.
That's exactly right. And I don't think there's any sensible way of really overstating that. At the moment, a lot is being made of there being some sort of huge pipeline, this kind of massive amount of market interest in investing in renewable energy. That is quite simply not true. At the moment, there is just no private interest in backing any sort of renewable energy development on its own 2 feet. You can see any example that you want. I can't find a single example of a major investment decision that's being made without some sort of underwriting from a federal or state government. And you can take the biggest one, the Valley of the Winds wind farm in the central West Arana res. It's going to have all its transmission lines built right out to it. It's a massive 900 megawatt behemoth. Still a massive subsidy from the capacity investment scheme. We don't know exactly how much it'll add up to, but it can't get private backing on its own as well. So there is really no such thing as any private capital. It is all being pushed through subsidies at the moment. It is just the dawn of the era of forever subsidies. There is not a completely competitive, any sort of competitive market investment that's driving this along. It's all being driven by government policy at the moment, but there are plenty of companies who are willing to line up in the queue for subsidies and handouts.
You are not wrong. I'll come back to batteries a bit later in the show. Thanks, Aidan.